Bun găsit la emisiunea Știință și Cunoaștere. Azi ne reîntâlnim cu Bruce Lipton pentru un al doilea set de videoclipuri care transmit mesajul său de optimism și sănătate. În perioada ultimilor 2 ani nu am mai avut ocazia de a pregăti interviuri, deoarece profesorul Bruce Lipton are un orar foarte strâns. Dar domnia sa mi-a oferit drepturile de utilizare și difuzare a oricăror din materialele produse sub numele său, adică videoclipuri, DVD-uri, cărți și articole. Din când în când, Bruce Lipton oferă abonaților săi de pe contul YouTube scurte prezentări ale unor idei esențiale. Le-am colecționat pe întreaga durată a pandemiei cu scopul includerii lor în câteva episoade Știință și Cunoaștere. Am realizat integral traducerile, subtitrările și sincronizările, așa că nu-mi rămâne altceva de spus decât vizionare plăcută cu o nouă înțelegere a biologiei în prezentarea condensată și ilustrată de către profesorul Bruce Lipton. Doresc să evidențiez faptul că în toate aceste videoclipuri produse de Bruce Lipton există foarte multe metafore. Asta înseamnă că dumneavoastră aveți nevoie să înțelegeți sensul metaforic al ideilor și frazelor sale. Acolo unde a fost posibil am adăugat ghilimele sau anumite note între paranteze. Dar în multe alte situații nu a fost posibil și de aceea rugămintea mea este de a acorda multă îngăduință și atenție la vizionarea acestor materiale. A doua problemă este legată de viteza foarte mare de vorbit pe care o are profesorul Lipton și care este un adevărat maraton. În multe locuri a fost nevoie să fac adaptări pentru a scurta numărul de cuvinte afișate simultan pe ecran, dar chiar și așa s-ar putea să nu fie de ajuns. Din acest motiv vă rog să revizionați aceste emisiuni ori de câte ori se vor putea redifuza la TVR Cluj pentru a pătrunde esența tuturor ideilor sale, având în vedere faptul că unele lucruri au scăpat atenției dumneavoastră. În primul material, Bruce Lipton ne prezintă un istoric al descoperirii ADN-ului, apariția mitului legat de determinismul genetic, promovat sub sigla unei așa numite dogme centrale, și ce impact ar putea avea această credință falsă asupra vieților noastre.
So what does science show us from a material point of view? A body is a machine, just like the universe is a machine. It's made out of physical things. Great. I say, but how does it work? Oh, well, when a machine is complicated, then what do? You take it apart. And as you take it apart, you see the pieces, and then you understand how the pieces work. And when you understand how the pieces work, you can put all the pieces back together and understand how the whole big thing works. So what does biology do? Start taking apart the body. Gross anatomy just looked at the gross structures, but microscopic anatomy, histology, said, wait, inside all those structures, bone, muscle, skin, brain, there are cells, that the cells are the building block of everything. And then the question is, well, if the cells are creating life, then what controls the cells? Well, in 1953, the world was introduced to the concept of the DNA double helix. And this is a result that actually in 1945, it was demonstrated that DNA was the molecule that controlled the character of an organism. But it wasn't really understood until about 1953 when Watson and Crick gave us this DNA double helix molecule. But at this moment, because we're really looking at the world in a different way, I want to bring in a Me Too moment here, and that is this. Watson and Crick, yes, they're the ones we associate with the DNA double helix, but here's the most important point, is that the understanding that DNA was a double helix and how it worked didn't come from those guys. It came from a woman, Rosalind Franklin. And why I say that's relevant, because her major advisor, Rosalind Franklin's major advisor, gave her research to Watson and Crick without Rosalind even knowing what was happening. And while they took her research, they advanced the conclusion that Rosalind didn't even know was being done because she was the one that had the data originally. So I want to correct an issue. The DNA double helix really came from Rosalind Franklin and then introduced and modified by Watson and Crick, that a woman was the one who founded the DNA story. I go, so what happened? I said, well, 5 years later, after 1953, 1958, Francis Crick, one of the so-called co-founders of the DNA story, comes up with something called the central dogma. The central dogma is the actual word that describes the hypothesis from Francis Crick. And what was his hypothesis? He said information in biology goes only in one direction. It starts with the DNA and then goes to the RNA which is a Xerox copy of the gene, and then that goes to protein. So I say, oh, there's a unidirectional flow of information. I go, according to the central dogma, it is. I go, so what is it? DNA turned into RNA, goes into protein. I say, so why is it relevant? And I say, well, who are we? What is a human in this little scheme right here? And I go, a human is the protein. Then I say, can the protein, the human body, go back and change the DNA? And the answer is no. It's unidirectional the other way. And I say, so why is that relevant? It says we have no control over our genes. Our genes control us. We don't control them. And it's called the central dogma. And it's very interesting to me because I was teaching this in medical school for a while. And then at one point when I left the system, I said, I never looked up the word. What is the actual meaning of dogma? And when I read it, it's like, oh my God, because dogma is a belief based on religious persuasion and not scientific fact. And all of a sudden I go, oh my God, the central dogma is religion. I go, yes, I was teaching religion about genetics in medical school because it was never a valid understanding. It was a hypothesis that Francis Crick offered. And I go, what was the relevance? Well, once it was published, everyone goes, yeah, that seems right to me. Does it seem right to you? Yeah, it seems right to me. Everybody seems, oh, let's vote. How many believe in this? And everybody put their hands up. And then the hypothesis became truth. It was published in 58. It was in the books in 68. It's in the textbooks in 78, 88, 98, 2008, whatever. It's still there. I go, why is it relevant? It was never scientifically validated. The dogma is a hypothesis. Now I'm going to tell you the simple truth. It is totally wrong. I go, why? Because it says you're a victim. But as we're going to go into, you're not a victim, you're a master. So the idea that genes control life, which you've heard ever since growing up, turns out to be a false misperception. Uh-oh, what's the problem? A misperception is disempowerment. If you believe genes control your life, then you've given up control of your life.
În următorul material, Bruce Lipton ne explică de ce lumea noastră materială, de fapt la nivel subatomic, ea are un fundament energetic. Corpul biologic este asemenea unui receptor de semnale din mediu. Aflați mai multe peste câteva momente.
Did you ever wonder if there's anything more to the human than this physical body that we have? Well, it's real interesting because if we go back in history, they talk about something called spirit, an energy, and an invisible force that seems to be controlling who and what we really are. Quantum physics emphasizes that the universe is not really split into two realms, a material realm and an energetic realm. Quantum physics reveals that everything is made out of energy. What we perceive as matter is actually an illusion of energy and light, that there is nothing physical. What do you mean? I said, well, first of all, a very simple fact. When physicists started to take the atom apart and find there were things inside such as protons, neutrons, and electrons, then they say, yeah, but what are those things made out of? Then they got down to smaller things like quarks, and then I say, yeah, but what were they made out of? And ultimately what physicists recognized was at the fundamental core of an atom, there is nothing material at all. It's an energy vortex. It's a powerful energy field. And that all atoms are these energy fields. And the significance about that is, well, atoms make up humans. And so by definition, we perceive ourselves as physical structures, but according to quantum physics, we're energy vortices. Imagine a cell as a television set, and that the environmental signal, like a broadcast, is being picked up by the antennas on that television set. And therefore, the cell responds to that broadcast. Well, guess what? Everyone has a different set of antennas, so by definition, everyone is receiving a different broadcast field. Field, yeah, that's what physicists refer to as the energy in which we live. So all of us are in a field, but each one of us actually receives a very precise and specific part of that field different than everybody else. No two people share the same self-receptors. That's why we just can't exchange cells, organs, and tissues with each other. Now comes an interesting part. If the cell is like a television receiving a broadcast, then consider this. What happens if you're watching your TV and it breaks? We say the TV's dead. I go, yeah. But now the question is this, yes, the TV just died, but is the broadcast still there that I was watching? The answer, of course it's still there. The television's gone, the broadcast is present. I say, how would you know? Well, one way of knowing, get another TV set, plug it in, turn it on, and tune it to the right station, and the show is back on air. Well, this would apply directly to humans as well. I have an identity due to a set of receptors receiving an environmental signal. If I die, I have no more reception, and therefore my broadcast exists, but there's no TV to express it. If an embryo shows up in the future with the same set of self-receptors that I have, well then guess what? I'm back online in a different TV. Does it have to be a male or female TV? Nope, that's the TV. Well, how about, is it black, white, brown, red, yellow? No, that's the TV. That's not who you are. You are the broadcast. And lastly, it's important to note that the character that you express in this life is actually sent back to your source, because your brain is not keeping your consciousness in your head, because magnetoencephalographs, unlike electroencephalographs, magnetoencephalographs read your brain function, but the probes don't even touch your head. There's a very important concept right here. Your thoughts are not contained in your head. They're broadcast into the field. And as Einstein emphasized, the field is the sole governing agency of the particle, matter. And then we put all of this together and says, your biology is an expression of this matter, but it's actually shaped by the field, a field that exists whether you're here or not. And then all of a sudden, the ancient story of spirituality now conforms to the modern day science of quantum physics. You're a field, you're a spirit, you're more than this. And when you understand that, it is the first step towards your personal empowerment.
În continuare, Bruce Lipton dorește să ne ofere un exemplu despre modul în care ne putem planifica un proiect de an nou, desigur valabil pe întregul an, dar care să fie în acord cu expectanțele și dorințele noastre, cu ceea ce ne-am propune să realizăm în fiecare an nou care sosește. Bruce Lipton a propus toate acestea în anul 2017, dar nu am nicio îndoială că sfaturile sale sunt utile oricând, indiferent că e început de an nou sau sfârșit de an.
Hi, dear friends, cultural creatives, and life enthusiasts everywhere. Hey, listen, it's time for a new season to begin, a new season of life, a new way of looking at life. Yeah, the end of 2016, thank you very much for that, but now we're moving into 2017. And I remember everyone used to talk about when I was younger, it's time for a New Year's resolutions time. New Year's resolution, that old story where you sit down and make a whole list of wonderful ideas that you like and then forget them the next morning. That one? Yeah. But this time, let's look at it from a different point of view. Let's look at it from the point of view of the biology of belief and epigenetics. And I say, why is it relevant? Because the reality that we now understand is that the expression of the mind is translated into chemistry, and that chemistry then controls our biology and our genetics. So basically, the brain takes a picture that we have in our head and translates that into neurosecretions, sort of like paint by numbers, so that we translate a picture into neurochemistry that matches that picture. Point simple. A good picture has some wonderful chemistry release, things such as dopamine and oxytocin, chemicals of love and bonding and feeling good. Well, a picture of something very negative releases stress hormones, which actually puts us in a mode of protection and really changes our whole biology. Well, what about New Year's resolutions? I mean, of course, how many of us have sometime in our life said, yeah, this is my coming year, and January 2nd, that New Year's resolution is lost, forgotten, and that was the end of it. So what do we need to understand about the biology belief in New Year's resolutions is simply this. 95% of our life comes from the subconscious program. That only 5% comes from the creative mind. That's the creative mind, remember, is the one that's writing those resolutions. So you can have all the most wonderful resolutions in the world, and yet you're affecting only about 5% of your life with that picture. The whole idea is to put the resolution in your conscious mind and then translate that into a subconscious program. That changes everything. Because once you put the new picture in and download into subconscious, you don't have to think about it anymore. Because once the new program of what you were looking for is put into that subconscious, the subconscious will guide you to that very destination. So the simple truth is, a New Year's resolution is by definition a chance to reprogram. And that's where the important part comes in. Just writing a New Year's resolution down once, or even just thinking it once, does nothing to change the subconscious program. So what do you think might be a good way of doing it? Well, in my opinion, a good way of changing your life and creating those resolutions is to put it down on paper, to create an image of what you're looking at, to have a feeling about what you're looking at. What I'm getting to in this is that to make a resolution go in deep, put it in through very many different senses. The senses of the eyes, the senses of the ears. What would my life be like if I was there? What would I hear? All these kind of things. Every time you add a picture in with a different sense, you are building a composite in your subconscious mind. And repetition is the secret of changing the subconscious program. So yes, you have a great resolution. Well, then work on that resolution, not making it happen, just putting the image into your head, repeating that image, seeing that picture over and over again, going to sleep with, this is what I'm looking for. And it becomes very important because, as we have demonstrated in biology of belief, once this image is put in the subconscious mind, the image is not necessarily something you need to work on with your conscious mind. It has now been programmed. It will happen automatically. But you must create that download step. So, simple point. What is it you really want? Why I ask this very fundamental question is this, is most people say, well, I don't want that and I don't want that. And I say, yeah, but what is it you want? He said, well, I want to be happy. And I go, well, that's not, happy as a result of having something you want. So you can't program happy, but you can program a place of happy, a way of life of happy. So here's the idea. This is a good time to say, what is it you want out of your life? For a very simple reason. The subconscious is going to get you to that destination. If you have no destination in there, the subconscious meanders all over the place like, hey, let's try this and let's try that. Some things are good, some things are not so good. That's random chance. Let's eliminate the chancy part and put down something that is more effective and direct, and that is this. First, really visualize what kind of world you would like to be living in. What is around you? What are you doing? What are the people that are around you? The more detail you fill in to this image, the more complete that picture, the easier it is for the subconscious to manifest it. When you leave blanks out of the story and just leave it open to the universe to throw a wild card in, that's when some of the good ideas go bad. So here's our conclusion for resolutions. Resolutions work, but not from the conscious mind. Resolutions work once they're implanted into the subconscious program. The more detail that you put into that image that you're trying to create, the easier it is for the subconscious to lead you and guide you to that final destination. It is so critical. If you don't have a visual understanding in your head of where am I going, how are you going to get there? So, New Year's resolutions are real, but they're not just made for write it down one day and let it go. The idea is to make an image, complete it as best you can with all the things the way you would like to have it happen. And when you do that, and keep this picture in your mind, your subconscious will automatically take that as a program for a destination in your life. And why is this so important at this moment? Because as we enter this new year, the most important thing is this: we are creating. And it's time for us to take our responsibilities and start creating what we want, because the world's in chaos. And I say, this chaos is not bad, the chaos is good, because it's breaking down an old structure that doesn't support us. And we're in the middle of a chaos because nobody has the picture of where we're going. So I'm leaving this to you at this point to ask you to participate in creating the world we want. And all you have to do is focus on the world that you want. Take that image, fill it out to its fullest capacity, replay it in your head. It will be downloaded in your subconscious. And when we talk about this next January, we'll have an opportunity to say, well, how was that? I hope it was much better than 2016. It's yours. It's your opportunity to take power and control. And I hope you do, because I know your creation will be the world I want to live in. Thank you very much.
În următorul videoclip, profesorul Bruce Lipton ne prezintă în ce mod noi suntem interconectați din punct de vedere genetic și energetic, în special în relațiile parentale sau de cuplu, în relațiile cu un animal de casă sau cu mediul înconjurător. În anumite situații, atunci când renunțăm la propriul nostru control și îl oferim unei alte persoane, atunci acea persoană are influența asupra cine suntem.
Veterinarians will tell you that pets like dogs, when they get sick, generally have the same illness that the owners have. So that it's interesting, the dog is like a mirror of the owner's health because they're energetically connected to each other, okay? Now, this applies exactly to where you are with your mother. Your energy and her energy are in the same band. You're open to her energy, which this is the way it is when babies are born. They have to download from the mother all this kind of information. But there's a point where you have to separate, otherwise then you're both connected to the same string. She pulls one way, then it pulls you, and so back and forth. And there's a way to change this, because it's basically a consciousness where you allowed her broadcast, her spirit, to connect with your spirit in your consciousness, and then through that, whatever vibration she's going through, you resonate with the same vibration, just like the dog resonating with the owner's vibration, okay? So there's a way to change that. You don't have to disconnect from your mother as a person, but you can disconnect from the energy of your mother by changing consciousness. It's a program. It's basically a program. So it's changing subconscious, and you can do this through energy psychology. And change it very, very quickly. So the idea is very important for you to understand this. You're both on the same energy frequency line, and you're open to her energy, which was fine in the very beginning, but that should have been closed somewhere as you started to mature, get past 7, 8, 7, start to separate. But you didn't at this point, apparently. And so her vibration is in harmony and resonance with yours. So whatever she's feeling, you feel it. And it would also work vice versa as well. You could also influence hers. And so who's the dominant one in the relationship is the issue, because that one will override the other one. And it's, from just age and development, your mother's got the dominant vibrational frequency. So there's a point where you have to change your subconscious belief and disconnect from her energy vibration. It doesn't mean you disconnect from her, but it means you disconnect from being on the same vibes, like a telephone. Now you're both on the same party line. You're sharing a line here, and you want to stop that. So the issue is really to go back and change the programming, because your programming is allowing an interference, and you can change the program and cut the station off. So it's basically subconscious reprogramming that is necessary to disconnect you from that line that is between you and your mother at this point. It is doable. It is very doable. But just thinking about it, it's like, well, that's not going to help anything. It's a belief change that you have to go through, okay? And there are a variety of change ways. On my website under resources, I believe change 25, 30 different versions. Frequently I recognize the Psyche one because that's the one I've used. And I find it kind of simple. But I would say it's an exercise. It's not just, I'll think about it and it'll go away. I go, no, that will not change the subconscious program. You actually have to do an effort to change subconscious. Okay, conscious mind can flip-flop, go all over the place and do what it wants, but subconscious is habit. And to change a habit, you have to use a different technique than conscious mind. You have to, do another effort. So belief change is the direction you need. And energy psychology would be the most rapid, effective way to disconnect this power line between you two, because it's an invisible field. And remember Einstein's quote, which I just said a little while ago, the field is the sole governing agency of matter, the particle. And so if your field is connected to your mother's field, you're the physical particle that's going to be altered by that field. You have to disconnect the field, okay? And that means you have to train the brain, program it, not to pick up those vibes so that you can be separate from her. Because we're not helpless, we're not. We just have to recognize we are like radio-controlled robots. And if you give the control to other people, then they control who you are as well. This happens with most people with medical doctors, because the program in the very beginning, the first 7 years, is that when it comes to health, you go to a doctor, now heal yourself. I say, well, what does that mean? Now I got a program that the words of the doctor now control my life, not my own belief system. And so it's a very parallel thing. The words of your mother and the field of your mother is controlling your life from some ancient program. And you can rewrite that program. And when you do that, you'll be disconnected from that conversation with her.
În continuare, profesorul Bruce Lipton ne explică de ce nu ar trebui să fim îngrijorați de faptul că populația globului tocmai a depășit cifra de 8 miliarde de locuitori. Ce reprezintă acest fapt? Care sunt consecințele? Spre ce ne îndreptăm? În acele țări în care speranța de viață este scăzută, populația crește mai mult față de țările unde speranța de viață este mult mai lungă. De ce e așa? Ce înseamnă toate acestea pentru viitorul omenirii?
Well, maybe you've seen the latest news that is so profoundly important, and that is the population of planet Earth has just reached 8 billion people. Well, this whole number is a very scary number for individuals on this planet, because there's a belief that it's the increase in population that is producing what we now recognize to be the sixth mass extinction of life. There are those that believe if we just eliminate the population, we'll resolve the crisis, that it's the people number that is the problem. And from their point of view, we have to do something to eliminate that population. The notion that the population is the source of today's problem really stems from work from 1798 by a philosopher by the name of Thomas Malthus. He's the guy that said that food, plants, don't grow at the same rate as animals, that plants grow arithmetically. In other words, every year you add one more. So if a farmer makes 1 bushel 1 year, the next year he makes 2, the next year he makes 3 by increasing his ability. But at the same time, the animals are actually doubling their population. So there might be 2 animals the first year, but 4 animals the second year, 8 animals the third, 16 on the fourth. And what you're seeing is a different progression. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arithmetic progression. 2, 4, 8, 16, 32 geometric progression. Like, significance is things that are growing at a geometric progression will outgrow anything that was growing at an arithmetic progression. Animals are reproducing faster than the food source is the simple conclusion. And as a result, there's going to be a struggle, according to Malthus, where too many animals will have to struggle to compete to who's going to get the food. And therefore, Thomas Malthus' idea, which was incorporated in Charles Darwin's theory, fundamentally in his theory, is that population is the problem. As spelled out in Darwin's theory of evolution, the whole idea is that too many people can only be resolved by actually called something like disease or famine or war. But the question is this: is the population increase the problem, or is the population increase the result of a problem? And this is what we have to understand right now. A fact that emphasizes the nature of the biological imperative in controlling the population comes down to simply this. In those countries where life expectancy is low, the population increases at a much higher rate as compared to countries where the life expectancy is a lot longer. In those countries, the increase in population is actually very, very low. So the idea is simply this. Population is dependent on the threat to a species. The greater the threat, the more reproduction. Science has totally recognized that fear, stress, and insecurity are the cause of a reduction in lifespan and an increase in the reproduction. Well, should we blame the people and the reproduction on this problem? Well, let me give you an analogy, and that analogy is this. We believe that cancer is due to genetics, which causes cells to turn into tumors. And as the cells turn into tumors, they undermine the biology and people die from the cancer. And therefore, we've led ourselves to believe that the cells are the cause of the problem. And this is why cancer issues sometimes are great failures, because they kill all the tumor cells only to find that the cancer regrows in the same or another place in the body again. And so point was, will killing the cancer cells solve the problem of not living in harmony? I go, absolutely not. Then I go, will reducing the population of the humans on this planet solve the issue of a mass extinction? I go, no, because it's not the number of humans that are causing the extinction. In fact, science has even recognized that 8 billion people, we can even have more people and sustain them on this planet. We're just not living in harmony. So killing cancer cells or killing people doesn't really cause the source of the problem to disappear. It's both cases, whether it's cancer or the extinction, it's that we're not living in harmony. So if we want a resolution for this issue, we then have to stop focusing on people as the problem and start saying, how can we change the cultural understanding so that humans will start to learn to live in harmony with nature rather than undermining it? One of the most important sources of information about how to resolve the issues we're in comes from the I Ching, because the symbol for crisis is also the symbol for opportunity. Well, we look at today at the population and say this is a crisis affecting us. The increase in population on this planet gives us a great opportunity to share the awareness of all these individuals so we can build a better understanding of the technology needed for us to thrive into the future. Conclusion is very simple. We're looking at an increase in population. Many people are blaming that population for the extinction that we're facing, when it turns out this is completely wrong. The population increase is the result of the extinction, not the cause of that extinction. And the resulting population, as we've seen over the history of the evolution of technology, the more individuals that are contributing to the picture, the greater the opportunity of resolution of the problems we face. So it's an important point for us to, at this day, when 8 billion people are on this planet, is not to focus on the numbers of how many they are, but it's to focus on the intelligence that cooperatively we can create. And that intelligence will be the one that will take us into a future where, guess what? The population will go back in decline and balance itself out. So, good news. It's not the bad news that you heard. The bad news is, hey, we're not living in harmony. The good news is we can create that harmony. Our technology is going to take us out of the threat and put us into not just a sustainable future, but a thrivable future.
Următorul material a fost numit metaforic Eu, omul, sugerând o paralelă cu povestirea lui Isaac Asimov, Eu, robotul. Bruce Lipton ne va vorbi despre rolul inteligenței artificiale cu avantajele și dezavantajele ei, atrăgând atenția în mod deosebit asupra unui segment al acestei tehnologii cunoscut sub numele de transhumanism, promovat de Zoltan István Gyurcó. Domnia sa crede că biologia și-a cam atins limitele și că acest corp biologic este incapabil să se susțină sănătos și tânăr pe termen lung, iar potențialele sale latente nu pot fi accesate. Transhumanismul propune o combinare a biologicului cu sinteticul, în speranța că toate lucrurile vor fi mult mai bune. Dar Bruce Lipton ne spune că nu e așa.
It's very interesting. In today's world, technology is moving so fast that they start to recognize maybe our technology is more powerful than we are. And especially when it comes to artificial intelligence and the idea is, oh my God, the machine can think better than you can think. And then they say, well, if it can think better than I can think, can I get connected to the machine so that the machine can think with me and for me? And this is called transhumanism, where you want to take on technology to replace what you already have. Because the technology seems so cool and so smart. And I go, look, I come from a world of biology. And The most important aspect of this biology is, well, we have life on this planet. This biological mechanism is a translator of the environment. The eyes translate the energy into visions of landscapes and everything we're looking at. The ears translate vibration into the sound, which could be music or noise, or whatever it is. The taste buds take food, and the energy of that food is translated into taste. And I go, oh my God, to visualize, to taste, to touch, to smell, to feel, love. And I go, that's why we're here. We came here to experience life. And the body is an extension of that spirit, because it is a translator of a world that spirit doesn't actually manifest in its own vision of energy. But this body translates that energy into pictures, sound, smell, taste, feelings. I go, wow. And then they say, well, yeah, but we could be smarter when we do transhumanism. I go, you missed the point. The point was to experience this planet. Do I want a machine to experience it? I have the machine. My machine is perfect. Do I need to expand it with computers? Hell no, because my brain's smarter than the computer anyway if I want to use it that way. So the world is tied up with transhumanism and AI, artificial intelligence, like, okay, we can boost our intelligence. I go, is that why we're here? Is that the feelings? Do you have artificial feelings that we can program? Can you program love into my body? I go, my body programs love, mind you, much better than a machine can do it. So the idea is this: understand your personal experience on this planet. We get so caught up in the details, the struggle for life, which is a false understanding from Darwin, because life is not a struggle, life is a creation. And do I need an artificial intelligence to create this? I say no. I've created some of the most beautiful visions of my life by being in places like I got there for why? Not because a computer took me there, because there's so much information coming in your body all the time. Every aspect of you walking through a field, the sea, the smell, the air, everything is like artificial. The real one is the great one. Why do I need to enhance that when I already have a body that can do better than any machine can do? And I want people to understand, please, we came here to have life experiences. If you can touch love, it's not coming from a machine, folks. It's coming from this body. Okay, it's a biological machine, but that's why I honor it. Because if you understand the nature of life, cells, genetics, and our experience on this planet, the destination of AI for me is like, what a waste of time. Go to the beach. That's what you should do sometime. Go out and enjoy a meal somewhere. That's what we're here for. Do I have to be the smartest person in the room? No, really. I just have to be the happiest person in the room. And that, to me, resolution. So my simple point is this: why should we look for transhumanism when your human body can do miracles that machines couldn't even think of doing? Use your body first. We'll talk AI in the future, but not now.
În continuare, Bruce Lipton dorește să ne avertizeze asupra faptului că toate grijile noastre, îngrijorări, supărări, frici de tot felul, echivalează cu efectul unei rugăciuni adresat împlinirii a tot ceea ce de fapt nu dorim să ni se întâmple. De ce se întâmplă exact opusul a ceea ce gândim că nu am vrea să ni se întâmple? Iar atunci când cerem ceva să ni se întâmple, un lucru bun, atunci cu cât devenim mai insistenți, cu atât mai mult îl împiedicăm să se întâmple. Pare un paradox, dar Bruce Lipton ne explică mecanismele sale.
One of the most important principles of science is that our consciousness is creating our life experiences. And yet when you talk to people and you say, how's your life going? It's like, well, it's not really going the way I would like it to go. And then comes the most important question. I say, well, what is it you really want? You know what's interesting? You can ask people that question. Most people respond saying, well, I don't want this and I don't want that. And I go, no, what is it you want? And I go, they never really focus on what they want. They just see what's not working and say they don't want that. And I go, but what does this lead to? I say, well, if you're focusing on what you don't want, I don't want this. I say, there's a picture in your mind that corresponds to what you just said. Your mind sees an image. I don't want X, I don't want Y. And I go, well, that image you just said you don't want is an image in the brain whose function it is to translate that image into reality, because consciousness is creating reality, which means, hey, the placebo effect is a reality based on positive consciousness. And everybody goes, yeah, positive thinking can heal me of any disease. And I go, yeah, that's conscious creation. What we don't talk about is that negative consciousness manifests equally powerfully as positive consciousness, but it works in the opposite direction. And it's called nocebo effect. It's just an expression that negative thought manifests negative reality. There's this really interesting piece of wisdom, and it says, worrying is praying for something you don't want. And the unfortunate part is, yes, prayer works. That's what we've already established in science. Prayer does work. Well, most people are consciously, and they say, I'm praying, this is what I want. And I go, yeah, but unconsciously, most of the time is saying what I don't want. And I go, well, that is praying, but it's not going to give you what you want. It's a form of prayer. Worrying is prayer because you're focusing and meditating on a picture. And you're looking at it, and the interesting thing is this, in this level of consciousness, when that picture is in the brain, it doesn't understand that I don't want this picture, because its job is to just manifest the picture. So there's no part in there that says, I don't want this picture, because all this consciousness says, oh, that picture. If it's a negative picture, then that's what it's going to manifest. But it doesn't hear you say, I don't want that one. So a conclusion is profoundly important. Your thoughts manifest your reality. Recognize that science has revealed to us 60% or more of our thoughts are negative, redundant, and disempowering. So all of a sudden I said that 60% of your life by definition is not manifesting what you want. And therefore we really have to start, if you start to have a negative thing, like I had to do it myself. I remember the first day it really manifested me. I was thinking about all this idea of, philosophically, and I'm in my car driving to a destination I'm supposed to be at, and I'm at a red light, and I realize I'm looking at the clock, and I'm going, oh my God, it's going to be trouble. I don't know if I can get there on time. And I was thinking, I'm not going to get there. And I was thinking, and all of a sudden I heard myself for one moment, you're not going to get there. You don't have enough time. I said, what are you broadcasting, Bruce? You're broadcasting, you're going to be late. I said, stop. And I actually remember I had a CD cover, and I put it in front of a clock on my car, so I couldn't see the time. And I just went the other way, and I said, I'm going to be there at the right time. That's it. That's all I do. I got no problem. I'll be there at the right time, which I also recognize. If I'm late, that's because they were also late, and I wasn't the only one that was late. If I was late, it was right on time. Once I started to do that, the worry about time and travel disappeared from me, because it's like, I'll get there when I get there, and it'll be the right time. Hey, no watch, ladies and gentlemen. I said, when did Bruce take this watch off? I said, in 1978, he was an opportunity to be in the most beautiful part of Thailand on an island, and it was sitting on a beach, beautiful white sand, beautiful ocean blue, and I'm sitting on a beach, and then I thought, what time is it? And I look at my watch, and I go, what the hell are you talking about? What time? Who cares? You're on a beach in Thailand. It got to be so much that I just grabbed the watch, pulled it off my wrist, and threw it into the ocean. That was my last watch, 1978. Why? I'll be there at the right time.
În continuare, Bruce Lipton ne vorbește despre faptul că diverse organizații, industrii, mass media vând nu doar produse și medicamente, ci și frici de tot felul, pentru a ne convinge că trebuie să cumpărăm anumite lucruri, medicamente, pentru a ne feri de anumite boli. Toate aceste frici nu fac altceva decât să ne reducă puterea pe care o avem asupra corpului nostru.
Edgar, there's one important lesson we must learn from the history we've all been through and the history we've read about, and that is simply this: fear is a great motivator. That if you can get people to live in fear, then you can sell them any damn thing that you want. And so basically what the whole idea is when we run out of one fear that has been pushing people in one direction, the organizations, the industries that are behind all this media and behind selling us all their products and ideas will come up with another fear, no matter which one it is. Sometimes it's a fear of the environment we live in. We talk about the water is bad, the air is bad, and everybody starts getting nervous about that. Then we talk about the bacteria and the viruses that are bad and the flu that comes around every year. And then we start talking about, oh my God, the radiation from Japan is going to, kill us all. Every time we start to get a little calmed down, then we are faced with another new fear to take our minds off the immediacy of what's going on. And in a moment of fear, very important, as I describe in the lecture, that neural functions change in fear. Not only we change the chemistry of our body, but the stress hormones change the operation of the brain. That when we're in fear, the stress hormones squeeze the blood vessels shut in the forebrain, which is conscious reasoning and logic thinking, and forces the blood, as a result of closing down the blood vessels in the front, forces the blood to the hindbrain, where we operate from reactive behavior, which is not thinking at all. It's just stimulus response. So the nature is, as we become more engaged in fear, we become less intelligent, and at that moment more open to the resolutions provided by industry, who were selling the fear in the first place. So basically the issue is, I don't know what the exact next fear is. Maybe aliens are going to be here. They're selling that one as well. Whatever you want to talk about, they will find one, they will sell it, and the mass of the population will buy it. And as a result, they will be further disempowered, and more power will be channeled in to the few that are making the decisions for the masses.
În materialul care urmează, Bruce Lipton ne explică metaforic faptul că noi avem un sistem de comunicare care nu este doar verbal și vizual, ci și energetic, iar aceasta s-ar putea datora faptului că la nivel subatomic materia își pierde sensul ei cu care ne-am obișnuit și observăm că totul devine energetic. Bruce Lipton dorește să ne explice faptul că dincolo de structura materială a corpului nostru mai există o structură energetică, iar noi emitem aceste energii în mediul înconjurător, iar ele ne conectează empatic pe cei mai mulți dintre noi.
The world is in a state of evolution, and what I mean by evolution is not a physical evolution. Humans are not going to change into something different. The evolution that we're really experiencing now is an evolution in consciousness. A consciousness that has in the past separated us as individuals. A consciousness that has been programmed with a belief that life is a struggle and that we're out here to survive. We have to be in competition with each other and undercut and undermine. And we were acting as individuals, looking for our own individual power. But in today's world, there's a new understanding that the evolution is an evolution of consciousness, an evolution of an expansion of we are more than just these physical entities, that there is an energy involved. In Newtonian physics, the conventional ones that most people have learned, atoms are physical particles, like little granules. But in 1925, physicists came to another understanding because they said, so what are those particles made out of you called atoms? And they went inside, and they found there were smaller so-called particles, electrons, protons, and neutrons, but that still wasn't the quest, because what are they made out of? And that's when the world changed, because when quantum physicists started to say, what is an electron or a proton or a neutron made out of? It's made out of energy, not physical, no substance. An atom is like a nano tornado, a spinning force field. There's an illusion that we are physical entities. You're an energy field. And I go, so what the heck difference does that make? And I go, well, here's the interesting part. Particles, I can separate. Here's a particle,
here's a particle. Let's talk about one particle. Energy just mixes all together. I'm sitting in a field of energy right now. So if I'm made out of energy, which I am, does it mean that the edge of my energy stops right here? And the answer is no. In quantum mechanics, I'm an energy field. Wherever I go, I'm like a broadcasting an energy. Wherever you are right now, you're broadcasting energy. And so in a Newtonian world we grew up with, this is separate from this and that's separate from this. And I go, in a quantum mechanical world, nothing is separate. Everything is an energy field with no borders to it. So what I do in my world is not just what I do in my world. What I do in my world is broadcast to everything else. And if it resonates or is in harmony with you, my energy can affect your energy. Or my energy can actually cancel your energy. Everything is interconnected. The chair I'm sitting on is energy. The air I'm in breathing with is energy. I'm energy, you're energy. We're all connected in this energy. But the fact is, energies are communications. And we vibrate and broadcast just like a radio. We're broadcasting who we are out into the field, and we alter what's going on. It is beyond language. It's a communication. It has nothing to do with words. It's an energy that's available if you just want to feel it. And I think that's the big issue. Feelings. Because feelings are telling you, you feel good? Yes, I'm having more energy. You feel bad? You feel weak? I'm having less energy. And I say, why is it relevant? It's more powerful than words. Energy can tell me, am I with people that are supporting me because I feel good around them? Or do I have a little quasi feeling of this, it doesn't feel right to me? So we have a new world that we're coming into, and it's based on the energy. And if you can read energy, you are being guided. If you can't read energy, you don't know what's going to happen next. If you follow the words, that's where we have been sold a bill of goods, where people say, yeah, these are good words, what do you think? And then I'll buy that because the words. And I say, yeah, but if you ever stop long enough to say, how do you feel about it, not what you hear about it. It empowers you beyond anything in the world. So the wake-up call now is, yeah, listen to people, fine, but feel it, people. Feel where you are. Feel, is this what I want to do? Do I want to do this or I want to do that? I say, you can ask your head and rationalize anything. But I say, don't ask the question of your head. Ask the question of your heart. Your heart is the monitor of the vibration. Your heart will give you an answer more accurate about anything in your world than your rational thinking will.
În ultimul material pregătit pentru episodul de azi, Bruce Lipton ne va spune câteva cuvinte de optimism și aforisme despre viață și sănătate pe care merită să le luăm în considerare.
Hi, dear friends, cultural creatives and seekers everywhere. Bruce here with a little suggestion about the nature of life and fitting in or not fitting in, conforming or not conforming. And why am I talking to you about it? Well, right away, I can tell you if you're watching this show, you're not necessarily conforming to the world because you're the cultural creatives. You are the people that are looking for new answers and new insights to understand how we can have a better and healthier and happier life on this planet. And I applaud you for that. Energy in the field can do either of two things. Energy in the field could be motive force. Yes, I need the energy to move and use this to push and do all that stuff, motive force. But there's a lot of energy in this room right now in which I'm sitting has no motive force at all. I'm sitting in an aquarium of energy. There's cell phone broadcasts running through here. There's television broadcasts, radio broadcasts, solar energy is passing through this building as well. And I'm in this aquarium of all this energy. And I say, yeah, but this is not motive energy. This is informational energy. If you take iodine tablets, then you're providing an iodine base to your biology. Simple point. If you flood your biology with excessive iodine more than you need, then the biology will not necessarily start scavenging the iodine from the environment. And even if you pick up some iodine in the environment in synthesizing a thyroid hormone, you'll have so much abundance of natural healthy iodine compared to the invasive radioactive iodine that the system will preferentially just use the good iodine just because it's competition. So, The biggest fear we have is actually incorporation of iodine, affecting the thyroid hormone, which really totally influences the entire metabolism of our body. So therefore, radioactive thyroid hormone is obviously not a good thing. You follow the path of your heart, and you will come to learn, as I did, that we are living heaven on earth. And that heaven is not found in the box. It's found outside the box. Free yourself, free your mind, take that red pill. Go for the experience. Live with your heart. That brain is really great. I know that. I lived with it for a long time. But it's not as true and pure in its conclusion as listening to the voice in your heart.
Acestea au fost doar câteva din numeroasele videoclipuri produse și prezentate de profesorul de biologie Dr. Bruce Lipton și sper că au conturat câteva idei despre modul în care ar fi bine să abordăm viața, biologia, credințele și realitatea de care avem nevoie. Fiecare avem propriile repere de viață, propriile valori față de care ne raportăm și pe care le urmăm. Avem propriile credințe și toate acestea la un loc conturează modul în care viața noastră se derulează. Dacă lucrurile nu merg așa cum ne-am dorit, atunci avem nevoie de schimbări în stilul de viață. Cu cât mai grave sunt aceste probleme, cu atât mai intense, profunde și dificile vor fi aceste schimbări. Așa că avem nevoie de exemple vii care să vină din partea celor care au reușit. Iar Bruce Lipton este cel mai bun exemplu pe care vi l-am putut oferi în nenumărate episoade difuzate până în prezent. Vă mulțumesc pentru faptul că vizionați această emisiune în fiecare săptămână la TVR Cluj sau online pe internet și vă invit data viitoare la o nouă întâlnire cu emisiunea dumneavoastră preferată, Știință și Cunoaștere.